Hello, my name is Laurel Rutledge. I am the CEO of LaurelRutledge.com, the creator of the Rutledge Perspective podcast, and now I am the host of the Rutledge Perspective on KCOH TV, The Boost. And I am so excited. My background in human resources and also in business and consulting has given me the opportunity to share information with all of you. And what we're going to do is talk about the foundational pieces, whether or not you're building a business or you're building a career. It all comes down to strategy and people. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know who needs to be on your team? So please join me, join in the conversation, catch the show both on the radio, on the app, and also on Facebook. And I will be on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you there. It's Tuesday morning. That means it's time for the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show on KCOH TV Radio, The Boost. Me and Jerry P. Beasley here. Amen. Producer extraordinaire. Thank you. Here with you today. And I'm doing StreamYard again. So I'm going live simultaneously on Facebook and LinkedIn. We're still trying to figure it out. So now the camera's horizontal this time. So hopefully that's going to work a little bit better. And I can see comments if you allow StreamYard to do your name, then I can see who you are. But otherwise, if you're joining on my Facebook page, I can't necessarily see that you joined like I normally do. So forgive me for not doing a shout out. So I'm just going to do a general shout out to all those folks joining me on my Facebook page, on my LinkedIn page, on the KCOH page, on Jerry Beasley's page. Thank you for being here. So a few PSAs, like we always start with PSAs. One, I just sent this out to some colleagues of mine in California. There is a new law. So all of my peeps in California, there's a new law coming through California. It is a supplemental paid sick leave act going into effect for California, where you are required to give employees up to an additional 80 hours of paid sick leave. This is under COVID-19. So Ogletree Deacons, I will post it on my page, a link on my page. Ogletree Deacons, which is a law firm I've used before in my previous life, is doing a free seminar on that. So those of you with employees in California or California peeps, even if you are just employed in California, this is something that's coming through that employers are going to be required to comply with. So FYI. Second, they just opened a second Buc-ee's in Florida. I don't know how I feel about that. Because I love me some Buc-ee's, but it's supposed to be like a Texas thing, kind of like Whataburger. Yeah, for real. Anyway, side note. Starting today, so we have the radio show Tuesday morning. So starting today, since I'm already in that mode, I'm going to start a Clubhouse room or be on Clubhouse at 12:30. I think they're supposed to be opening Clubhouse to Android users soon. Right now, it's still iPhone, I think. But I will be there from 12:30 to 1:30 on Tuesday. So I'll leave the show and go home and to my office and let us continue the conversation on Clubhouse. So that's happening today. So come find me. It is the room is called Lead with Your Heart, Act with Your Head. And last night was the first night of this month's Leadership Transformation Summit. And so thank you all so much. We had about 40 people sign up. Not everybody who registered was able to attend, and that's okay, because as a reminder, the replays will be out there. So you should check your email. You'll get a link to the replays if you are a registered attendee. You'll get access to the replays until Sunday. And you can still come tonight and tomorrow. So there's 2 more nights, tonight and tomorrow, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Central. Really look forward to seeing you there. We talked all about the importance of strategy as a leader. And then we're going to go into some other things these next 2 days. I'll be giving some giveaways, et cetera, et cetera. If you have not registered, if you register today, you can still go see the replay. So it still makes sense because you can still get the last 2 days. So plan to do that. Thank you. We reached 5,000 downloads. Yay! On the Rutledge Perspective podcast. So thank you so much. I know people are like, wait, what is it? So we got the radio show, but I also have a podcast that goes on all the podcast platforms. And that one is really short. The radio show is an hour. The podcast is just 15 minutes, short and sweet, get it and get kind of information. And so I appreciate it very much that y'all are listening and downloading and passing on and sharing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And then, because I had so much stuff getting ready for this thing today, I did not get my garden planted this weekend, but I did go get some additional plants. And my little blueberry thing that's still wrapped up seems to be okay. It's actually got some new leaves on it, my blueberry bush. So I'm actually kind of glad because we had that rain come through. So I'm like, oh, if I had everything out and it might have blown over with the wind. And so that is on the docket for this weekend. If not Thursday, we'll see how Thursday's shaping up to get all my stuff planted. I'm so excited for my stand-up gardens and my 3-tier garden. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So today, March 23rd, 2021, we are going to be talking about fighting for something or fighting against something. And I'll talk about this on my podcast briefly too. And how this came up from a number of different things, because y'all know that's what happens. I'll have like a plan and then something happens like, no, I need to talk about that. And that's how this came about. So it started because I got a comment over the weekend about something. And what it was is completely irrelevant. Got a comment on my page about something this weekend. And it wasn't nasty, wasn't ugly, wasn't any of that. But it was so like not the point. Like it was a comment about something that I had done and that they totally missed the point, right? And tried to put out different facts that negate. It was a mess. And so I responded, and I was actually kind. I responded. And then I thought, you know what? This is going to be interesting. I'm going to wait and see if the person is going to say anything else. And then I got to decide what I'm going to do with that. And in that moment, I realized, there's a lot of times when we just get into these crazy fights about stuff, right? We're fighting about something. And we've seen a lot of that lately, mainly because we seem to have an issue with the truth and with facts and with data. And when we are battling over facts, I think it was Mara, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. There was a point in time in our lifetimes that truth and facts mattered, and that everybody had the same facts. We could at least agree upon what the facts were. They may disagree on what the facts meant, but they agreed on what the facts were. And so, if you look back over the last several months and everything that's been going on, there's a lot of fights about stuff. We're just fighting about stuff all the time. And I look back over my career and I think, man, there's a lot of stuff that I've thought about with executives, right? That I've thought about versus fighting for something. And then you think from a personal perspective, there's stuff you fight about, right? You're fighting about a bill with a vendor. You're fighting about service with your cable provider. You're fighting about stuff. And I think it was the Dalai Lama that said, anger only hurts you. It does nothing to the person at whom you're angry. So you're all upset and screaming and yelling and blood pressure's rising and all that kind of stuff because you're fighting about something. And in that moment, I thought, but I have a choice. I don't have to entertain this. I don't have to engage in this. I don't even have to acknowledge that a lot of this stuff happened. Why am I spending my energy, one, on folks that I don't know, right? So they matter because they're human beings, but they don't necessarily matter to me personally because I don't know who they are or their opinion or perspective. But why am I spending a lot of my effort and a lot of my energy on that? It doesn't make any sense because then I am mad and upset and challenged and irritated behind something that's inconsequential. So that's the first thing, the revelation that I had. The second thing I had was one of the reasons that it feels so bad is because when we're fighting about something, that's personal. When we're fighting for something, that is about service and something universal. And that feels different. You hear people talking about fighting for a cause. We're fighting for Women's History Month. We're talking about gender equality. We're talking about pay equity. We're talking about, level playing fields. We're talking about racial justice. We're talking about all of these kinds of things. And people are fighting for these causes. And the causes are bigger than them. They're bigger than the individual. The issue is bigger than the individual. And the ability to stay energetic and connected and focused is so much different when you're focused on fighting for something, right, that's bigger than you, than when you're fighting against someone or something, right? When you're just arguing. There's a big difference. There's a big difference in how you show up. There's a big difference in the energy when you're fighting against something versus when you're fighting for a cause, fighting for an event, fighting for other people. It's that whole idea of leadership being not about you, being about the people that you're leading, being about the people that you're serving. Servant leadership is about other people. It's not about you. And leadership is about behavior, not about position. And so that whole idea of fighting for something, that fighting for something bigger, that's a different energy. That's a different level. That's just different when you're fighting for something than when you're fighting against something or when you're just fighting. And I posted on Monday, and I got a comment back from a good friend of mine. We used to work together. And she's like, man, but that word, fighting is such a violent word. I'm like, yeah, it is. It is. And she was right. I'm like, you're right, it is. And words matter. Y'all know me well enough to know words matter. And so as I read what she said, and I thought, that's an interesting perspective, the Rutledge perspective. That's an interesting perspective. And I said, it is different. And maybe it's really about civil discourse. How do we have potentially heated conversations, really deep conversations in which we disagree or which we have different perspectives, but still remain civil, still remain respectful, still hear the other person for the purposes of understanding, not the purposes of winning. Because when you're fighting against something, that's about winning. It's all in that language, right? We talked about hustle and grind and digging deep and all that kind of stuff. And there's so much pressure in those words, right? And sometimes you're just tired. I know I've had that probably this whole first quarter of 2021, just exhausted, mentally, physically, emotionally, just exhausted. And so when we're fighting against something, like hitting that brick wall over and over and over and over, that gets exhausting. And it is a fight. It's a battle. You're trying to win. When you're in it to win it, man, it's at all costs. But when you are fighting for something, it may still be at all costs, but the energy's different. Because it's not just about you. It's about the greater thing, right? So you are personally invested, but it's not about you. It's about winning for the greater good or doing something for the greater good. And so that whole idea of fighting and battling really does play tightly into this idea of in it to win it and hustling and grinding and battling it out and all of those kind of things, right? That we use on a regular basis. But words matter and words stick. I just had this conversation with somebody, I think it was in the last week. That thing that all of us heard as kids, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Right? That your parents used to tell you not to fight people. That if they're just saying ugly things to you, just ignore them and keep going. And while that was right, because they just didn't want you just fighting people just to fight, the reality is words do stick. Words do hurt. And the difference is words are stealth, man. Somebody says something, and you hear it and you absorb it, you may or may not respond in the moment, but that can come back and bite you years later. It can show up years later, that event where somebody said something to you that really struck you. So words can hurt, but they are stealth. And they can hurt psyche, right? They can hurt emotion. They can hurt how you show up. They can hurt how you feel about yourself, how you feel about others. Words matter. And so when we're talking about fighting for something versus fighting against something, it is understanding that when you're in that fighting against something, you're in that survival mode. Last week we talked about that polyvagal theory, right? Whether you're in dorsal vagal where you're just done, right? I'm done. I can't do anything else. I'm just done. Or where you're in that sympathetic mode where you're in that fight or flight. So dorsal is the freeze. Sympathetic is that fight or flight. And that's that fight mode, right? Something's not right. I got to fight against it. I got to make it right. I got to do something. I got to protect myself. I'm in survival mode. Something's wrong. I gotta figure it out. Well, when I look back at my career, and y'all know I've been working a long time, and I think about the conversations that I had with executives, and especially in the HR roles, right? Because HR is not easy. People think it is. Everybody thinks they can do HR until they get in and have to do it. HR is not easy because HR requires an ability to both be connected and disconnected at the same time, to understand how to be compassionate without being emotional. And when you're dealing with people, it's really hard to not be emotional. You can be compassionate, but emotion can get you in trouble. And so I recall a number of conversations with people over the years where we were fighting about something or fighting against something. And when I look back at those now, because hindsight's 2020, at the times when I was fighting against something, that was the stuff that was so hard, right? I'm fighting against culture. I'm fighting against a perspective that is just wrong, right? About my department or about me personally or about my intellect or about the possibilities of what we could do. But it was personal. It was my fight to protect my team or to protect employees or to protect the truth. Because even in organizations, not everybody likes to tell the truth. And so when I look at that, I was like, well, no wonder I was so exhausted most of the time. Because I was fighting against the machine, right? Isn't that from the 60s? Fighting against the machine. And it really is like that, right? Especially when you've got organizations that have very, very long tenures, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of people. There's lots of history. There are lots of, we've always done it that way, or we tried that one time before and that didn't work, or we don't do it that way here, all that kind of madness that you're fighting. And as I look back on that, I also recalled some of the battles that we fought, some of which we won and some of which we didn't, but the fight felt different. The fight felt different. It wasn't nearly as exhausting. It was frustrating, but it wasn't nearly as exhausting. It wasn't nearly as soul-sucking. And the difference was that those fights, so to speak, were for the organization as a whole, right? They were for the people. They were for the company. They were for how we were going to show up, who we were going to be, how we were going to portray, that we were going to align our actions with our words. It was those kind of more universal battles that felt different because they weren't about me. I was fighting for something else. So I was in it. I was passionate. I was committed. All of those same things. But the way it hit my spirit was different. The energy that I needed to continue the battle was different. And why that is that it's harder when we're fighting for ourselves, maybe it's because we feel alone in the fight versus when we are fighting for something bigger, we know we're not alone. There's a lot of other people fighting too, fighting for the cause. And so we're not in that battle by ourselves. But when you're just fighting, when you feel like you're fighting by yourself, that can really drain you. It can cloud your thinking. It can put you in an emotional state where you no longer are able to maintain a level of perspective about why you're even fighting about it. And that's not where you want to be, especially if you're a leader. So when you get into those situations where you feel your blood pressure rising, you feel your language changing, and you feel your body language changing, and you're responding different than you normally would, practice the pause. Practice the pause and say, why am I angry about this? And why am I even having this conversation? Because I got to tell you, I have reached a point, maybe it's age, Jerry, I don't know.
You say.
I have, maybe it is. I have reached a point, now people that know me say I've always been this way. I am one that I will have a conversation for years. We will talk it out as long as you want to talk it out. We will have conversations. We will discuss. In fact, I get energy from really great discussions. And we will, even if we're differing, we will talk it out. We will discuss all of that kind of stuff. As long as both of us are listening, as long as both of us are still respectful, as long as we're really talking about an issue and it's not becoming a personal attack. Because once it reaches that, then I'm done. And I don't mean now I'm angry, now I'm irritated, now I'm not going to speak to you again, although some of those things may happen. But generally it just means I'm just done. I'm through. I'm ready to walk away. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm just done. And I've realized that I get to that state of done sooner now than I used to. Mm-hmm. And the done sticks longer than it used to. Because you know, life is short and I just don't have that kind of energy to be spending a whole lot of time in conversations that are not productive. And productive doesn't mean 100% agreement or consensus all the time. That's not what I mean by productive. What I mean by productive is everyone is listening, perspectives are heard, opinions are formed, and opinions are noted and explained and supported, or at least owned, right? So even if the facts don't support my opinion, I should at least be adult enough to own that I have the opinion that's contrary to the facts. But that ability to be done and move forward is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing because when we are fighting against something, all of our energy in that survival takes away our ability to actually be effective. When we get really deep in that emotion, nobody's hearing us anymore, especially women. When you get deep in that emotion, they're not hearing you, they're seeing your emotion. And they have written you off because you're emotional. For Black women, they've written you off because you're an angry Black woman, right? For women, emotion is a bad thing. Emotion is not passion. Emotion is emotion. Emotion is weakness. Now, the opposite is true. There's a lot of strength in emotion and an ability to demonstrate emotion because people connect on an emotional level. But in corporate settings and in many other professional settings, emotion can often be seen as weakness, as an inability to handle how tough it is, as an inability to be an executive, to not have executive presence if you show emotion. I was just watching the police chief in Boulder. I think you guys saw the tragedy that we had yesterday with the mass shooting in Boulder. And I was watching the police chief who was talking about the incident and what happened. And she was paying tribute to their officer. They lost an officer who sadly had been on the road to try to get out of frontline service. And she was very clear. She was very focused. And she was emotional. She was clearly upset by the loss of this officer. And yet her poise and her ability to say it and to show emotion around it, I didn't see any one person talking about how, you know, she can't handle the job. It's too much. You know, she's not able to handle these tough situations. I didn't see anybody talking about that, at least not yet. But that situation was a universal situation, a piece of universal or a point of universal pain. And so her expression was a universal expression. When we are fighting against something, we are fighting for something, those are universal expressions. And I use universal with a small u. Universal expressions of a desire to alleviate some kind of pain or to overcome some kind of hardship or to eliminate some things that's not seen as good, right? Again, when we're talking about institutional racism or systemic racism or gender inequity or any of those kind of things, right? That emotion in those instances is actually something that is seen as a connection and a passion to battling the thing. But when you are fighting against something and you're basically fighting against it on your own, that emotion is not necessarily seen as strength. Oh, I see a comment. Hey, Renee. Oh, that is not, I know, well, y'all have been watching me for a while, know how this is. It's just what we do. Yeah, I wasn't sure I could see it on StreamYard, so thank you so much. So when you're fighting it on your own, when you're battling on your own, there's no place to kind of disseminate that energy, right? So those of you who study, I love physics. My degree was going to be in physics, and then I realized just because you love something doesn't mean you're good at it. And that idea of disseminating energy, right? So that not one pressure point feels or holds all the energy or absorbs all the energy. When you're fighting against something and you feel like you're fighting alone, you're absorbing all of that energy of dissension. You're taking all the pressure. You're taking all the pushback. You're taking on the whole battle by yourself. And that really is draining. Instead of finding a way to fight for something. And when you're fighting against something, deciding, is that really a fight that's worth fighting? Or is it time to just walk away? We're going to talk about that a little bit from a leadership perspective. Is sometimes, you hire slow, but you fire fast. And that's about walking away fairly quickly. Now, you still got to pay attention, right? But staying in that pain of someone who is not the right fit or doesn't have the right skills, or worse, is wreaking havoc on your team and their ability to be successful and effective, that pain is not worth it. And if you can make the battle not about you, but about the team, about the objectives, about the strategy, the dissemination of that energy is so much better because you're not taking on all the pressure yourself. And many leaders, especially those of us who tend to be fairly introverted anyway, and who understand that we are supposed to stand between our teams and some of the madness, especially when you get to that executive level. Your team shouldn't see how the sausage is made. They just need to know sausage was made, right? The process is not necessarily something they need to see. That's not something that is productive for them to be able to do their jobs. And that's one of the reasons why executives often will feel that they are fighting alone. Because once you get to a certain level, especially if you're in some sensitive areas, so if you're in HR, if you're in legal, if you're in to some extent, if you're in finance, when you get to those executive levels, there's only so many people you can actually talk to about things that are going wrong or things that are concerned, or people that you can use as mentors, right? People you can talk to about detail, because there's so much that you know that is sensitive information. And you can't just share that with everybody. You can't just talk about that with everybody. So in many instances, you end up feeling like you're fighting something alone. You're fighting to be understood. You're fighting for people to get the point. You're fighting for them to understand the implications of the decision that's being made. And that is exhausting. It's exhausting. And so the bigger issue for a leader is to decide, what battles am I actually going to fight? One, you will never have the time to fight them all. You just won't. And two, not every battle is worth fighting. So how about spend your energy on the battles that actually move the needle, that actually make a point, that actually solidify culture, that align your actions with your words, that move you forward into innovation, that serve customers better, that advocate for employees more, that make sure you're aligned with all stakeholders, not just shareholders of your organization or of your business or of your life for that matter. Because while we're talking about this, or I'm talking about this in the context of business, it's the same issue in the context of personal relationships. How are you picking your battles? Because that's what it's really about. How do you pick your battles? Because there are going to be battles. There are going to be battles. So you just got to decide which ones you're going to fight and how you're going to fight them. Because that also speaks to your energy, it speaks to your character, it speaks to your passion, it speaks to what you care about, right? People believe what you say. People hear what you say. They believe what you do. So the battles you fight will tell people more about you than the battle itself. What you fight and how you fight it speaks to who you are. And when you recognize that and understand that, it also makes it much easier for you to decide, okay, where am I going to spend my energy? Because as I have someone tell me, time is not renewable. Time is not renewable. And I never had it put that way to me before. And that's so exactly right. Oh, there's Pete. That's exactly right. Time is not renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone. We can't get time back. So where are you going to spend your time? Are you going to spend your time fighting against stuff? Or are you going to spend your time fighting for things that matter? Fighting for people that matter? Fighting for equity? Fighting for clarity? And it doesn't even have to be something real big. Fighting for your own peace of mind, which sometimes means walking away from the fighting against stuff. But that's a fight that's worth fighting. I'm just saying, right? So really think about as you're going into this week, because we're not out of this thing yet. This other fight that we got going on, right? This COVID fight. We're not out of this thing yet. And we're going to continue to see people as we get vaccinated more and as things begin to open up more. We're going to see more and more of these battles, right? We're in Texas, because now Texas is wide open. There are businesses that are still saying we are requiring masks here. Mm-hmm. If you're going to come in here, you must wear a mask. And I haven't heard a lot of it yet, but you are also seeing people who are refusing, and then they're being belligerent, and they're being nasty, and they're being ugly, and sometimes physically abusive to employees who are just doing their jobs, to tell you that you can't come in without a mask. And so we may continue to see some of those things. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you. We're going to continue to see some of those things. And the question becomes, how do we fight that battle? How do we support those businesses that are private businesses, and they get to decide how they address this issue? They get to decide how they want their employees to show up and how they want people to show up at their business. And oh, by the way, just FYI, if the private business is requiring a mask and you refuse to wear one, you can be cited for trespass. So I'm just saying. So you can have all the attitude you want, but is it important enough for you to be cited for trespassing? That's up to you. Only you can make that decision, right? That's a personal decision. So, let's think about these battles and these things that we're fighting right now in the greater context.
Can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. And Sherry in St. Louis says, this is good teaching.
Good morning, Sherry.
Everybody here is on Facebook Live and saying good teaching. Yeah. Let me ask this question. Do you think that the fighting syndrome has transferred from over what we've already been through in the last, from 2020 to 2021, and that it's hard to get out of fight mode, that there's really no fight to fight? It's just you're used to being in this fight mode? Because it doesn't make sense to me when we're seeing people just mad at cancel culture or other things that are just coming out of the top of your head.
Right.
Instead, do you think it's just fight mode?
That is such a good question, Jerry. I think there is some of that. I think everything can be developed into a habit, right? Mm. And when people have been locked up for so long and locked away and told no, and you can't do this and you can't do that and you shouldn't do this, people just get tired and they get belligerent and they get salty. Yeah. And so some of this is everybody finally just letting it out. And because we have not been around people who aren't our close family for so long, there are those who have forgotten how to behave in public settings. And all that stuff builds up. It just does. I think there is some truth to the buildup, right, of just anger and frustration and irritation. People are not able to put food on the table. They're not able to send their kids to school. They're not able to find a job that makes more than, $6 an hour. I mean, there's so much pressure on people right now. Mm-hmm. And the more that pressure gets, ultimately people are going to probably get to a point of exploding. The question is, what does that explosion look like? For some people, that explosion is like I don't even remember where it was, whether it was here, whether it was Atlanta, I don't remember where it was, of the guy who was in the Chick-fil-A, who the worker told him to put a mask on.
It was
Jack in the Box. Mm-hmm. Told him to put a mask on. He walked out. The guy walked back in and stabbed him. Yeah. So you got one end where people do that. You got the other end where people just go to ground and they're like, I can't do this anymore. And they just completely shut down. So there's a broad spectrum of our responses to this stuff, a really broad spectrum. But I do believe that part of the challenge around this fight culture is people are tired. And we have lost a little bit of how to be decent and how to have a decent conversation and how to be respectful. We have lost that in the last 4 years plus.
But it goes back to what you said earlier, that it's really going to be our own mind thing. Is it worth the fight? Is it worth the energy?
Yep.
And I said the other day on Facebook, because was saying this thing about Kirk Franklin, and I totally disagree with some of the ministers that were talking.
Right.
And I said, there's some things you're just going to have to deliberately ignore. So I had to unfollow people, not delete them this time. I just don't want to see what you got to say, because I know I'm in fight mode on that.
Right.
And so, and then with us doing the plants and all of those things, there are some things we have to deliberately do because I feel like we're all going to feel a little froggy and edgy. But there's some way to knock that off.
It doesn't take much. And that's what was so interesting to me when I was having this conversation, because I had the one interaction. And then on my page yesterday, there's a posting going out about having the career that makes you feel like you've got purpose. You're living into your purpose. And a person responded about the job that they have. And they were really, one, they were grateful for having the job, but they were also grateful for the work that they could do in their job. And I didn't know this person, right? It's just somebody I didn't know, but was following my page, and they made this comment, which was beautiful. And I responded and said, that's great. Someone else responded to them and said something really disparaging about the job that the person had. And I finally saw that, and I thought, now I got a choice. I can let this stand because it's a business page, it's a public page, or I cannot. And even if I choose not to let it stand, which I chose not to let it stand, I can either do that publicly or I can do it privately. And I have a dad in my head, right? You praise in public, you criticize in private. So I decided to direct message both these people I didn't know. I direct messaged the first person who was saying how grateful they were for the job and the work that they did. And I said, thank you so much. I saw your response to this person who was basically a troll. I appreciate that you were respectful and clear. That was great. And I am going to hide this comment. Then I went to the person who made the nasty comment and I said, I have no issue at all with differing opinions, which is a true statement. I have no issue with differing opinions. What I do have an issue with is personal attacks and disrespect, because we can disagree without being disagreeable. And therefore, I'm going to hide your reply. The other person came back, the first person, the nice person came back and said, hey, well, I wanted to respond to them too, and it hid my response. And I'm like, well, technology, if I hide him, it has to hide your responses. So, and I will not have his comment on my page. The person who made the nasty comment then came back to me and said, yes, but this is what they are. So basically doubling down on that perspective. At that point in time, I decided, I'm not having this fight. I was done. This is someone who clearly is unable to understand what I mean by being respectful and having civil discourse, being able to disagree without being disagreeable. They didn't get that. They didn't get it. Now, my first mind was going to all kinds of reasons why this person was being so nasty, which were not necessarily kind reasons. And I had to pause myself and say, but I don't know this person's story. They could have had a really bad experience with someone in this particular role before. Their perspective could be legitimate based on their experience. So I am not going to undermine or negate their perspective based on their experience, because that's the same thing people do to people of color. Oh, it wasn't that bad. That's not what they meant. It's not an issue. There's no racism here. All that, because they're in doing that, they're negating your actual experience. So I had to catch myself and not negate this person's potentially what this person's actual experience could be. Now, they could have just been a hateful troll, maybe. They could just be hateful. But there's also a possibility that they really experienced something that was traumatic for them. And I wanted to honor that. And I wanted to honor me. So instead of getting into a back and forth with this person, I was just done. I just said, okay. And then I banned them from the page. Because here's the reality. Even if their experience told them this was true about this other person's job, the fact that they did it in a way that was disrespectful, that dishonored the other person's perspective, was not acceptable on my page. That was the point. And so it didn't make sense for me to get into some long diatribe about why it wasn't respectful and how we're going to just don't. Just be done. And there have been dissenting opinions on my page, and I am so okay with that. Just like my friend saying, oh, do we really need to use the word fight? Can we use a different word? I love that, because words matter to me. And it's important to get different perspectives, because how do you know your perspective is right for you if you've never heard anyone else's? But I get to decide where I spend my energy. And I decided I wasn't going to spend my energy on someone I didn't know and who clearly didn't understand what being respectful meant. Why would I do that?
Isn't there a difference between being just giving your perspective as far as being combative?
Yes.
Because you can tell when people jump on to be more combative than give their perspective.
Absolutely. And when you talk about fighting for something and fighting, for something versus fighting against something, it tends to be fairly clear from a professional perspective. But when you talk about personal, that combative word is the perfect word. So if you think about fights that you've gotten into with family members or, spouses, significant others, whatever, when those things get personal, because those are the folks that know you best. Yeah. Those are the folks that know the buttons, right? That's fighting against something. That's that in it to win it mentality. That's that win at all costs. That's no, you're going to hear me. That's, and you, both people may have reached a point where they're just not hearing the other person. Mm-hmm. That's when you're fighting against, right? You're fighting against someone else's words. You're fighting against what someone else is telling you. You're fighting against someone else's perspective. You're fighting against whatever it is. It's you against them, right? It's a one-on-one. It's a battle. That feels different and that takes different energy than when you're fighting for something. And even when it's one-on-one, if you're fighting to be heard, that's still a personal battle. I want you to hear me. I want you to understand. You may not agree, but I want you to understand my perspective. That's a personal battle. That is a fight that gets in your soul, that gets in your spirit, right? And when you're not being heard, when you feel like people are just dismissing you just because, that's the stuff that sucks your energy. That's when you can ultimately get into that dorsal phase where you just say, I'm done. I can't. You just go to ground, right? That's the freeze mode. But when you're fighting for something, that ability to continue to battle, right? But battle about the thing. It's like it takes the personal out of it when you're battling for something, when you're fighting for something. It kind of takes the personal out of it because it's not about you. It's about the thing. And that's what makes it, in some ways, a little bit easier, right? The energy stays because it doesn't feel like, if there's an attack, it doesn't feel like a personal attack. And when you fight for it, you're fighting for the thing. It's not necessarily just you you're fighting for. You're fighting for other people who may not be able to fight for themselves. And it's amazing where that piece of perspective around service comes from, because that's what that's about. That's about service. When you're battling for something, that's about service. That's why they say giving does more for the giver than for the receiver. There is power in giving. There's power in serving. There's power in that acknowledgement and that feeling that it's not just about me. One, that I'm not alone. But two, that even if I feel like I am the worst person on earth, that I got nothing to give, if I can give one thing, that act of giving gives me hope. That act of giving tells me that I am worth something. That act of giving tells me that I can actually make an impact, however small. So that battling for something gives a whole different feel than when you're just fighting and grinding and battling and just, dog eat dog, kind of all that madness.
Even if you're a person that's faithful and you're not going to quit, but you will have an attitude after a while.
Yes.
Doing all that swinging and bobbing and weaving. When you said that, I was thinking about this morning. I was feeling very tired, and at first it was raining outside. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know if Laura gonna be there.
Yeah.
So let me get on down there because I know she gonna be ready to do our show. But when I pulled up and I noticed that there was fresh mulch on the ground and there was new plants.
Yes.
I got a pep in my step because it felt like, somebody's swinging for me. Because when you're trying to take care of things and then you see something that's been on your mind and you're like, I don't even have the energy to call whoever needs to do that. And that is done.
Yes.
People don't understand that's helping somebody else fight the good fight. And you will get your second win.
You will. Jerry, that's so important because we've talked about that before on the show. You don't know who's watching.
Right.
You don't know who's watching. And someone is always watching. Someone's always watching. And so keep doing the things, even if you think they're small. You never know when that one word you say, that one battle you have, that one thing you do will be the thing that impacts that person that needs it the most.
That's good.
You're right. Leela says, I find it best to not engage with trolls. They just love the attention. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. One of the the best ways you can fight somebody who's just a troll is to just ignore them because they can't stand it. They can't stand it because they are going for the attention.
Right.
That's the whole point of them doing what they're doing. They want the attention. So don't try. Let me not say don't, because sometimes you do have to just take a minute. Try not to just go to ground and stay there. Try not to stay in that dorsal vagal stage. Try not to stay in that, I'm not getting up, I'm just staying in bed, I'm not going to do anything else. Try not to stay there. And for those of you who have people who may be there, if you see something, say something. We've talked about this. Mental health is important. Emotional and psychological health is important. This is not a time to be ashamed or to shame someone. Shame on you if you are shaming someone because they are struggling. Shame on you if you are shaming someone because they're struggling, because everybody is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Everyone. Even those people that look like they got everything together. Many of us have learned how to put that mask on. I'm just saying. We were trained to put the mask on. We were trained to just show up. And then sometimes, like I've told you guys before, my mom used to say, even when you feel your worst, make an extra effort to look your best or you're going to look like you feel. Mm-hmm. But that dressing up, that act of dressing up, that act of cleaning up and doing your hair and putting your makeup on, just those little things that are drudgery to do, and you feel like, I just don't want to, I can't believe I'm doing this. But once it's done, you're like, oh man, I actually feel a little bit better because I'm put together. I can actually do this. I can actually show up. Those little things can make big differences. Little acts of kindness can make a big difference. Speaking to someone when you see them on the street, making eye contact with someone. Just something as simple as that. And I know many of us have been trained, especially those who grew up in big cities, don't make eye contact, right? I say that a lot of times with my mom's, her dog, before he passed away. I'm like, ooh, don't look him in the eye. Then you get his attention, right? So if you're eating, don't look him in the eye. Because if you look him in the eye, he's going to think you mean, come on over. And that's not what you mean. But that simple act of actually making eye contact with someone, acknowledging that you see them as a person, acknowledging that they're there, right, makes a big difference. Because everybody's fighting a battle that we know nothing about. Everybody's got something going on.
No, let me mention this because I see somebody, but I won't say their name. And they're saying mental health is real when you brought up mental health. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a situation with a child of theirs who is that just came out and said he's dealing with a mental health diagnosis. And I remember something Kim Burrell said, the singer Kim Burrell, and she also was my pastor. And she said, Sister Jeremy, I need you to help me do this and that because I got so much I want to do that it's becoming tormenting.
Yes.
And I caught that because most people that are creative and have so much on their mind and so much they want to get out and so much they want to do, if there's no outlet or no direction to follow, then it can become tormenting.
Yes.
So when you're talking about mental health issues in the midst of this pandemic, do you believe that many people have been so enamored with just getting so many ideas and things that they can do, but there's no outlet? Right. And that's what's causing the fatigue and the...
I think there is some truth to some of that, right? My therapist and I talk about that all the time. There's so many things that I enjoy. There's so many things that I'm interested in. There's so many things I want to do. And it can be overwhelming because when do you have the time? And what you end up, people who have a lot of interests and have a lot of things that they like to do, a lot of things that they're good at, a lot of things that intrigue them, you can actually have all of that stuff move you absolutely into paralysis and you do nothing. Like you're saying, being tormented, right? Being overwhelmed, just actually sitting, right? Yeah. And then that makes it worse because then you're like, man, now I went another day and I didn't do anything. Not one single thing, right? And that's not good. And I will tell you, I have had a number of friends, not just one or two, but a number of friends with children whose children are struggling. And they have had to actually take some serious action to keep their children safe. And I don't have kids, so I don't, I cannot, I'm by no means saying this as an expert in childcare, clearly. So let me own that first. What I will say is this. One, parents, you guys need to give yourself a break because this is these times are unprecedented.
Yeah.
For those of us who are here, right? Most of us who are still here and living today have never seen anything like this. You need to give yourselves a break. And self-care is not selfish. Give yourself a break and take some time. Also, you know your kids. Talk to your kids. Don't just assume that it's okay. Don't just take the change in attitude as, well, they're tired of being cooped up like me. Ask the extra question. That's why you got to get some rest.
Yeah.
You've got to get rest so that you can show up for you can show up for your spouse, and you can show up for your kids. Self-care is not selfish. Because when you are clear, when your mind is clear, when your spirit is clear, you are much better able to pick up on those things. And that's not to say that you won't miss something. So you also need to give yourself a break if for some reason you missed something. Mm-hmm. Because you can't see everything. And kids are masterful these days at hiding stuff. All these stealth behind the scenes apps and all that kind of stuff. I can't even imagine. One, I don't have that kind of energy to try to figure out that stuff. I would not be a good kid this day if I was just born with all this technology. I don't have that kind of energy to try to have 4 dozen Instagram pages, and I can't. So kids are really good. So give yourself a break, because they are really good at hiding the stuff they want to hide. Mm-hmm. You just want to build the best relationship with your kids you can build to the best of your ability. That's all you can do. And ask for help and take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of you, you absolutely won't have the energy to take care of your kids or your parent or your sibling or anyone else who is leaning on you to take care of them. Because not only do we have parents who are having issues, we have people who have not only kids, but they're also taking care of parents who have been isolated, right? Mm-hmm. Who may or may not be well, or they may be well, but they're still isolated. And the older you get, that isolation has a bigger impact. So we need to, if you're going to fight for something or fight against something, fight against your own reluctance to take care of yourself. That's a fight to have. Fight against your own head trash. That's a fight to have. Fight for your own health, the health of your spouse or significant other, the health of your parents, the health of your kids, the health of your community. Fight for those things that help uplift people, right? Make sure you're taking care of you, fighting for your health, which is a reasonable fight, but don't fight against the troll.
The listener is saying, yes, I did. I did not ignore the signs. I asked for help, and that is important.
Hallelujah.
Mama had to do it for me.
Thank you.
So that's,
yes.
I mean, and as you said, even as a grown woman, you talk about therapy.
Yes.
That is available, and I just believe a lot of people are going to need a degree of therapy. My therapy really is working in the yard and being to myself and being by water.
Right.
But it may be more intensive than that, and there's nothing to be ashamed about, because you just said it. And I said it earlier today. These are unprecedented times. We've never been this way before.
Yes, ever.
Ever.
Yeah, not in our lifetimes. Right?
And everybody's rushing to get back to normal and doing what they did before this pandemic.
Right.
But truth be told, it is totally different.
It is totally different. It's totally different. And we got to give ourselves a break. Good morning, Mama. My mom signed off.
Hey, Mom.
Jerry said, hey, Mom. So it's, it is important for us to be okay with saying I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I talk about the fact that I have a therapist and have been in therapy is because there is a stigma around therapy in the Black community. In many communities of color, there's a stigma. Well, you know what? If I'm supposed to be ashamed, well, y'all just have to call me ashamed. But I know for a fact that it has been something that has saved me. Between that and my faith, because here's the thing, people say, whew, and I've met people in my family, baby, you just need Jesus, you'll be okay. Well, yes, I do. Yeah. And he gave this person additional skills that I don't have to help me. Mm-hmm. So going to them is not a lack of belief in him. Mm-hmm. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. And so I have no problem talking publicly about the fact that I go to therapy. I love my therapy sessions because they help me get out of my head. I know myself well enough to know that sometimes there's just stuff you need to talk about. And I've got some amazing sister circles, and I've got an amazing family. So it's not like I don't have people I can talk to. I have a lot of people I can talk to. But sometimes you just don't want to, one, you don't want to burden people with messiness in your head. But the second thing is sometimes you need a completely objective professional that's going to help you work through some stuff. Like my family wouldn't have told me about the polyvagal thing, right? Not that they didn't know, but that wouldn't have been something they thought about. But my therapist knows me well enough to know, hey, this is something that if I explain this to her and she can see the science behind this, that is going to start making some logical sense, which helps her get out of some of the emotional sense. So it works for me. So do not be ashamed. And to the listener, thank you for asking for help. Thank you for being willing to recognize the signs. Because there are a lot of people who see the signs and recognize the signs, but they're so ashamed that there was a sign that they don't want to say anything. We've got to figure out how to let the shame go. Because that also comes into play when you're fighting against something. Fighting against something is a lot about fear. It's about being understood, about being heard, about being shameful, about feeling shame, about feeling unworthy. All of that madness plays into when we're fighting against something as opposed to fighting for something. So words matter. Change that rhetoric. I am fighting for my peace of mind. I'm fighting for my health and the health of my family. However you define family. I'm fighting for the health of my community. That's why I wear a mask. I am fighting for insert thing here, right? Because that is energy that is forward moving. That is energy that is helpful. That is energy that is positive. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have other fights every once in a while, because we all do. That's what life is. There's always going to be something you got to fight or someone you got to fight, theoretically, right? Hopefully you're not actually coming to fisticuffs with people. But there's always going to be something you have to fight. I believe the hardest battles we fight are the ones in our own head. The demons in our own head are the hardest ones we have to fight. Because those sneak up on you when you're least expecting it. That stuff rears its head and you're like, wait, what? Where did that come from? I've never said that out loud to myself, or I never believed that, or how did that happen? That stuff crops up before you even know it. If you see something, say something. If you see someone struggling, if you see behavior changing, that's a fight you want. Fight for your friends. Fight for your family. If they can't fight for themselves, if they're in a place where they can't do anything, fight for them. Find a way. Find a way to fight for them. You can't always do an intervention. That doesn't always work. But even if that fight is just being there physically, checking on them every day. Check them on them multiple times a day. If they don't answer the phone, you just show up. That's that kind of fight, right? Fighting to not let someone just disappear and go to ground on you. Those are fights that are worth your energy and worth your time.
You know, Laura, I told you once before, I said your show is going to be relevant because it's not just sticking to the business, but it is sticking to the business. Because even though you're talking about HR work, people are going back to work, and I'm seeing a lot of teacher friends of mine who are terrified about going back to work, and they're going up with a lot of head trash, like you always say, in their minds. And those emotions got to be dealt with, even to be a supervisor or to work.
Yes. Fear is real, and fear can be debilitating. Fear can be debilitating. And this is where I get so mad at leaders, especially if you talk about schools. Talk about anything where people are starting to get back to work. Talk to your people.
Yeah.
Talk to your people. Make a plan. Tell people why. Tell people what you're going to do, how you're planning to protect them. Do not pretend that you got everything under control, because you don't. But what you can do is the things that you have decided, the things that you are putting in place, how you are trying to make sure people are going to be okay. You tell them. You tell them. And you give an opportunity for people to say, well, here's what I need, or I don't understand, or please help me understand, or I've got this special situation and I'm concerned. When you give people an opportunity to participate and to understand, you're going to have those folks on the fringes that no matter what you do, they're going to be unhappy. But there are reasonable people in the middle, and I believe there are more of these than not, who, if you just tell them what's going on and why you're doing it and where you're doing it and how you think it's going to help, and that you are willing, if it doesn't work, to make adjustments, you are more likely to have people come back and trust you and follow you. People will hear what you say. They will believe what you do. And your actions will tell them whether or not you care. Do you care about the health and safety of your teachers, and therefore, by extension, the education of your children? and students at large? Or do you care about the pressure you're getting to just open back up schools?
I think HEB had to have that conversation because at first they were not going to do masks, and then they changed their mind. So they probably had to rethink that thing and
I think they did.
Brought it to everybody.
And probably, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that came from their own employees.
Yeah.
Who are having to deal with people, right? And because we are still at a very low percentage of full vaccinations in Texas, y'all. That's just the reality. And you're never going to be 100% because most people, let me phrase that, never going to be at 100% because there are a lot of people who either can't take it for health reasons or who don't want to. So 100% is not a realistic, attainable goal. But we can get to 70, 80%, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So, okay. On that note,
before you go, you're taking your second one. Can you tell the people how?
Oh, yes, I did take my second vaccine. And I was fine. I do believe I wound up with fatigue. So by that night, I was just really tired. So I took it on a Thursday. That Friday morning, I did a long walk with my trainer. We usually do a really high intensity walk. And it was a slower time than usual. And I was the whole time I felt like kind of heavy, and tired. And the same thing over the weekend. So I've had some fatigue. And a friend of mine who is in healthcare said it may have been just, the vaccine kind of working its way through your system. I had arm soreness again. My arm was really sore. And this time I did get really itchy. I did not get a rash, but the injection site was itchy. Now, but I also have to admit, y'all, that I tensed up this time when I got the shot. Mm. So some of that could be on me. So some of that could be on me. But I am fine. I am fine. So please, unless you have a condition that doesn't allow you, please go do your research and please consider getting vaccinated so that we can get back to some semblance of a new normal. Because I'd really like to be able to start making up my whole face.
Yeah.
And I got some beautiful, lip glosses and lipsticks that I kind of miss. Now that I have to make up, because I'm not a big makeup person. But now that I have to do it, I'd like to do my whole face. So I'm just saying, if you don't want to do it for you, do it for me. All right. Thank you guys for being with me today on the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show on KCOH TV Radio The Boost with me and Jerry P. Beasley. We will catch you next week, same time. Don't forget, check me out on Clubhouse at 12:30 today. I will be there just chit-chatting. So be sure to get me there. I have no idea how to really use Clubhouse, but we're going to find out today. And then if you want to still register for my leadership summit, please do that. Go to my website. You can see a pink banner in the middle that says register here. With that, I'll see y'all next week. Bye.